Yes, good afternoon. So, in my previous class, I have completed the chapter animal tissue. Today, I will start with the another chapter, that is cell. Okay, so today I will start with the another chapter, that is cell. So, this is the chapter 8. And name of the chapter is cell, the unit of life. That is the name of the chapter. So, can you tell me what is the meaning of cell? What is cell? Follow me. Can you say me or can you say the answer? What is cell? What is cell? You have read it in previous junior classes. What happened? Don't you know what is cell? So, what is cell? Cell is the structural and functional unit of life. Okay, that means our body is made up of cells. Cell is the unit of life. Yes, what kind of unit? Follow me, you have to mention. It is, the unit is structural and functional. That means in the formation of body structure and for performing the different function, cell is required. So, cell is the structural and functional unit of life. Here it is written that unit of your life. What kind of unit? Structural unit and functional unit, both. So, now we know cell. What is cell? So, before entering into the chapter, in this chapter we will read about the what is cell, what are the different shapes, size of the cell, how cell has discovered and the properties of different cell organelles. Okay. So, first I will talk about the discovery of cell. So, how cell has been discovered? Discovery, the Robert Hooke, scientist Robert Hooke in the year of 1665 first discovered cell, and he has discovered first non-living cell. Robert Hooke discovered first non-living cell. How? Because he has taken a cork and he has made a slice, and with the help of that microscope he has observed the thin cork slice, and it is made up of bark of a plant. So, as it is a plant product, so he has found some hexagonal structure, honeycomb like structure. This type of structure he has found, and as it was a plant part, he has found cell wall here, and that is why we can call it is a non-living cell. Okay. So, Robert Hooke first discovered cell, it is okay, but it was non-living cell. So, then who has discovered the living cell? Another scientist, Anton von Leeuwenhoek. Anton von Leeuwenhoek discovered cell. What type of cell? Living cell. The So Robert Hooke, the first scientist who has discovered the non-living cell, and the Anton von Leeuwenhoek has discovered first living cell. He has observed living cell under the microscope. Okay. So after that, different scientists has come and discovered different types of cell organelles and different parts of the cell. As Robert Brown has discovered nucleus. Robert Brown has discovered nucleus, and another scientist J.K. Purkinje has discovered protoplasm. Like that, when we will talk about the different cell organelles, we will get to know the name of the different scientists who has discovered the different types of cell organelles. So that is the discovery of the cell. Next we have to know a theory which was proposed by some scientists. It was called as cell theory. Next I will talk about the cell theory. So in that case, in the year of 1838, a scientist who was German botanist whose name was Matthias Selden. Matthias Selden in the year 1838, and his designation was he was a German botanist, and examined a large number of plants and observed that all plants are composed of different types of cells, okay, which form the tissues in plants. So, I am repeating that in the year of 1838, a German botanist observed different types of plants and concluded that plants are made up of different types of cells, and the cells which are forming the tissue of the plant. With that, as you know, why he has observed the plant cell, because as we know the botanists who are working with plant and the zoologists who, that means the study of the animals. As he was a botanist, so he observed the different types of plants. With that, another scientist whose name was Theodore Swan in the year of 1838, and who was a British zoologist, studied different types of animals and reported that the cells are having a thin outer layer, today that is called as plasma membrane. You will read about the plasma membrane, that means the outer covering of the cell, that was plasma membrane. So 1 year after, another scientist, Swan, who was British zoologist, observed animal cells and also observed a thin layer which is called as nowadays plasma membrane. Okay. So with that, on the basis of that, Swan proposed a hypothesis that the cells of animals and plants are composed of cells where from, okay, and they have formulated cell theory. After that, what happened? Another scientist, Rudolf Virchow, another scientist, Rudolf Virchow, who has explained that the cell theory. So what was that? That he has explained the term omnicelluli cellula. Omnicelluli cellula. What does that term mean? That means that it means that the cells are arising from pre-existing cells. So it means that cells are arising from pre-existing cells, and with that he also that means he modified the hypothesis of the Selden and Swan, and again proposed another cell theory in which two main points are all the cells are all living organisms are composed of cells and products of cell. So the modified cell theory was, first point was all living organisms are composed of cells or Products of cell, all living organisms are composed of cells or products of cells. Okay. And what was the next? That is that all cells arise from pre-existing cells. All cells arise from pre-existing cells. So, these two are the main properties or postulates given by Sheldon and given by Rudolph. So, Rudolph has modified these and proposed these two hypotheses. Okay. So, that is all about the cell theory. Now, we will have an overview idea of a cell. So, in that overview, we will get to know that we can consider according to the cell, the organism can be prokaryotic, eukaryotic. Okay. So, now if I consider the cell, as we know that cell is made up of different type of cell organelles. Among them, some cell organelles are membrane bound, some cell organelles are not membrane bound. So, here we will get two types of cells, prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells, and this differentiation can be done with the presence or absence of nuclear membrane. If the nuclear membrane is absent, then we will call it pro. Pro means primitive and eu means advanced. So, karyotic means nucleus. If they are having primitive type of nucleus and in the nucleus they are not having nuclear membrane or envelope, it is called as prokaryotes. And if they are having proper well developed nucleus with nuclear membrane, then it will be called as eukaryotic cell. Okay. So, that is the main difference or the main basis by which cells can be differentiated into these two. Now, if I consider the different cell organelle, so there are different types of cell organelles are present like endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi body, nucleus, mitochondria. Okay, so these are all membrane bound cell organelles, but ribosomes are non-membrane bound cell organelles. That is why you have to remember that one, that ribosomes are non-membrane bound organelles. Which one is non-membrane bound organelles? A non-membrane bound organelle is ribosome. Ribosome can be found in all types of cells. That means in prokaryotes and eukaryotes, in both the cases ribosomes can be found. Now, if I consider that the difference between prokaryotes and eukaryotes, you can find it out that we have got two main differences. First one is according to the nucleus and second one is the membrane bound cell organelle. In case of prokaryotes, ribosome is not having membrane, so we can say that membrane bound cell organelle is present only in eukaryotes, membrane bound cell organelle is present absent in prokaryotes. Okay. So, the cells are having different type of shapes and sizes. Now, I will talk about the shape and size of the different types of cells. Next one is shape and size. As the cells can vary in their shape and size, they may have different type of shapes and sizes. So, if I consider first size, so smallest cell is the mycoplasma, and mycoplasma is the prokaryote. Mycoplasma is the smallest cell, its diameter is 0.3 μm, 0.3 μm. As the only bacteria, as you know, are the smallest, but the diameter or the length of the bacteria may be 3 to 5 μm. But that mycoplasma is having diameter 0.3 μm. So, you can imagine that how smaller they are. Okay. So, next one is the largest cell. So, which one is the largest cell? Largest cell is the egg of ostrich. egg of ostrich is the largest cell. Okay. Now we have seen what is the smallest cell and what is the largest cell. Except that you can find different types of cells with different type of cell. Which is the longest cell? Nerve cell. No, you no need of remembering the length, but you can remember that one because it's only one diameter. Okay. So I will suggest that if you remember, it will be better. Okay. So longest cell is the nerve cell. Now you can see in your book at the page number 127 that there are diagrams. There you can see the different type of shapes of the cell. Cell may be elongated, cell may be polygonal, the cell may be irregular in shape, the cell may be round shape, biconcave cell, amoeboid shape, columnar shape, cuboidal shape, branched and long shape. Okay, that means the shape of the cell may be disc-like, polygonal, columnar, cuboidal, thread-like, even irregular. That means the shape of the cells may vary according to their function. As according to their function, the shape of the cells will vary. Okay. So this is all about the shape and size of the cell. Now I will discuss about first the prokaryotic cell, then we will differentiate between prokaryotes and eukaryotes. So as they came earlier, so that's why I will discuss it first. So prokaryotic cells, what are the examples of prokaryotic cells? Prokaryotic cells are bacteria, blue-green algae, cyanobacteria and mycoplasma, and another new term you will get here, PPLO. PPLO is the example of prokaryotic cell, and what is the full form of PPLO? Pleuropneumonia-like organisms. The full form of PPLO is pleuropneumonia-like organisms. Okay, so what are the examples of prokaryotes? Blue-green algae or cyanobacteria, PPLO, mycoplasma, bacteria, these are the examples of prokaryotes. Okay, and they may vary greatly in their shape and size. So four basic shapes can be found in case of bacteria. It may be rod shaped, it may be comma shaped, it may be oval round shaped, or it may be spiral shaped. This type of bacteria is called as bacilli. Example is bacillus. This type of, because these are not having that much of advanced property, that's why its name is given like that. It is rod shaped, it may be comma shaped. If it is comma shaped, we can call it, example is Vibrio. If it is spherical or round shaped, we can cocci. Streptococcus pneumoniae is an example of that shape. If it is spiral shaped, we can call it Spirillum. So these are the different shapes of bacteria that can be found in different type of prokaryotes, and they are having different types of examples. So organisms of prokaryote cell is fundamentally similar, even though prokaryotes exist in wide range of shape and they can withstand a high range of temperature also. So in the, when I have discussed the classification, there I have talked about the Monera group, and here prokaryotic bacteria I have discussed about the bacteria. So now I will talk about the different main features of prokaryotes. Prokaryotes will have cell wall. So prokaryotes will have cell wall. Cell wall will be there in case of prokaryotes. So cell wall, we will find cell wall in case of prokaryotes, and inside that a fluid matrix in the cytoplasm we will find, and in prokaryotes there is no well defined nucleus, and the genetic material is basically DNA. Okay, their genomic material is DNA. If their genomic material is DNA, it will be single chromosome or circular DNA. Their DNA will be single chromosome or the shape of the DNA will be circular. But in case of prokaryotes, besides that normal chromosomal DNA, they are having a extra chromosomal DNA which is smaller than the chromosomal DNA. It is called as plasmid. Plasmid is the extra chromosomal circular DNA which can be found in bacteria, and it is smaller than the chromosomal DNA, and it is a unique phenomenon in case of bacteria. You will read about the plasmid in class 12. Okay. So, bacteria is having some special property like antibiotic resistance. Okay, such characteristic or that they are having resistance to antibiotics which is present in that plasmid. Okay. So, this plasmid is used for bacterial transformation with foreign DNA, and in the biotechnology you will get to know that what are the different uses of plasmid. Okay. So, nuclear membrane is not found in the DNA, that type of DNA is called as nucleoid. Nucleoid is termed as in case of prokaryotes, but in case of eukaryotes it will be having some greater advancement. Now, I will talk about the cell envelope and its modification. So, next one is in case of prokaryotes, they are having a cell envelope or cell covering, and it is having some modification. I will talk about that one. So, first in prokaryotic cells, particularly in bacterial cells, they have a chemically complex envelope. So, in prokaryotic cell, particularly in bacterial cell, they are having an envelope. The cell envelope is consist of highly bound 3-layered structure. That cell envelope, that means the outer covering. If it is a bacteria, then this is the cell envelope. This cell envelope is composed of mainly 3 layers. What are they? First one is glycocalyx, then cell wall, then cell membrane. Okay. So, what are they? First one is glycocalyx, then cell wall, and followed by cell membrane or plasma membrane. These are present in the outer wall, outer covering of the bacterial cell particularly. So, they are having a distinct functions. All these layers are having distinct function, but these three are performing a function of protection as all together. Okay. So, they are performing the protective unit. Now, bacterial can be grouped into two groups according to the composition of cell envelope. Okay. That means they are according to the cell envelope, bacteria can be divided into two types. What are they? These are gram-positive bacteria and gram-negative bacteria. Okay. So, what is about gram-positive bacteria and what is gram-negative bacteria? These can be done by a staining procedure which is called as Gram staining, and it is discovered by Christian Gram. That is why it is called as Gram staining. Okay. So, if these bacteria can stain that can withstand that staining, it is called as gram positive, but those who doesn't take up the gram stain are called as gram negative. So, how this gram staining procedure can be done? The first these can be treated with a crystal violet. Okay. After that we have to treat it iodine. Then we have to wash it with alcohol. So, first crystal violet and iodine will form a complex. It is called as CVI complex, and you have to wash it with alcohol, and after that you have to counter stain with safranin. If the bacteria stains a violet color, then it is a gram positive bacteria, and if the bacteria doesn't, then the after counter staining it will show a slightly reddish type of appearance, but it will not show violet type of appearance. That will be called a gram negative bacteria. So, why this type of changes is there? Because in their cell outer covering or cell envelope, a layer which is called as peptidoglycan layer is thick in case of gram positive bacteria, which is retaining the gram stain, and in case of gram negative bacteria, the cell envelope is the composition of peptidoglycan is quite less. That is why they can't retain the stain, that is why they are not showing the violet color, and that is how we can differentiate according to the composition of envelope the bacteria into gram positive and gram negative. Okay. Now that glycocalyx, now if I consider that glycocalyx, the composition or the thickness of the glycocalyx may differ. The glycocalyx may be a thin, loose, sheath-like structure, then it will be called as slime. If the glycocalyx is thin, loose, slime-like structure, loose sheath, then it will be called as slime layer. And if the glycocalyx is thick, then it will be called as capsule. So, according to the composition or of glycocalyx, we can call it into two slime layer or capsule. I am repeating, if it is a loose sheath, then it is called as slime layer, and if it is forming a thick tough covering, it is called as capsule. Okay. And the cell wall determines the shape of the cell, which provides the strong structural support and prevent the bacteria from the bursting or collapsing. Okay. So, now the plasmamembrane is the semi-permeable in nature and interacts with the outer side wall. What is the meaning of semi-permeability? I will explain it when I will discuss about the plasmamembrane. Okay. And this structure of this membrane is quite similar to the eukaryotes. Now, in case of bacteria, some infoldings like structure can be there, which is called as mesosomes. Okay, mesosomes, some extensions or infoldings of the plasma membrane can be there, which is called as mesosomes, and the extension of the may be form of vesicles, it may be form of tubules, or it may be form of lamella. Okay, it may be vesicles, it may be tubules, or it may be lamella. These type of extensions can be found. What is the functions of this extension? As you can understand that it will extend the surface area. So, the cell wall formation, DNA replication and its distribution to daughter cells, and they also help in respiration, secretion processes and increase the surface area for the plasma membrane for many enzymatic activity. Okay. So, this is the function of all these. Now, the bacteria, and in some bacteria in their cytoplasm, some pigments may be present, which is called as chromatophores. Chromatophores may be present, which contain pigment. Now, in the bacteria we will get another term, that is, if I draw yes, some part is right, that semi-permeable membrane means it will pass some materials but not all. I will explain it. Look, in the bacteria, some bacteria may be motile or some bacteria may be non-motile. So, motility is dependent on this structure, which is called as flagella. Those who are having this flagella structure are motile, those who are not having are non-motile. Okay. And this flagella is having three parts. The part which is inside the cell membrane is called as basal body, and after that a hook like structure is present, and that thread like structure is called as filament. Okay. So, filament, hook, basal body is the main three part of a flagella. Okay, and flagella presence or absence of flagella determines the motility of a bacteria. Okay, if flagella is present, then the bacteria will be motile, and if not, then the bacteria will be non-motile. And these are the filament is the largest, longest extension of the cell surface to the outside. Okay, you can see. And another two structure, that is pili and fimbriae. These are also a surface structures, but these are not having any role in motility. Only flagella is playing role in motility. So, what are the functions of this pili and fimbriae? So, what is pili? So, these are the different extension you can see, and small some distance like, so these are pili and these are fimbriae. So, fimbriae are small bristles like structures, and these are sprouting out of the cell, and in some bacteria they are known to help the bacteria to attach with the rocks in the streams and also with the host tissue. So, these are the main cell envelope and its modification found in case of prokaryotes. So, in my next class I will talk about the ribosomes and inclusions bodies, and we will proceed to the eukaryotic cell. So, I hope up to that portion you have understood. If you are having any queries, you can ask me. Have you understood, Paulami? Okay, so I am telling you the page number. So, from page number 1 to 5, the up to page number 1 to 9, 8.4.1 subpart, you have to read that part. Okay, in my next class I will ask question from this part. So, thank you and bye.